When someone shows you who they are, believe them. Let's talk about this concept of authenticity. And again, this is just information. I think a lot of times when we talk about genuine connection, when we talk about authenticity in the world, the mental image might be this person who is just good, kind, thoughtful, caring, sincere, innocent, if you will. Authenticity means that you're integral, you're honest, you're caring. But we need to think a little bit deeper about what authenticity is. A person is authentic, or when we are authentic, that means we are being our truest selves. And sometimes someone's truest character is full of deceit, full of manipulation, full of context clues that reveal that the most authentic version of who this individual is may not align with the kind of relationships that we desire. Authenticity isn't just about words, it's also about consistency. People can be consistently inconsistent too. And this is sometimes where we get hung up, right? One of the things I say is I trust everybody to be exactly who they are more than I trust them to be who I want them to be. Trust people to be who they are, that means that you allow there to be room for pattern behavior to make a lot more sense versus you just paying attention to what you want to see from a person. You can actually address and acknowledge, well, what am I recognizing historically over time? And this is important because we get caught up in this idealization of other people or this idealization of who we think that we are. And when we actually unpack it and when we actually understand what's going on, we might be ignoring some things, okay? You might be ignoring red flags because you want a certain relationship to work. You might be dismissing your own habits because you are so eager to be seen as righteous or be seen as a quote unquote good, authentic person. But that's not the case. I was talking to a buddy recently about this concept of what we desire to be on the receptive end of when it comes to the connections that we exist in. Everybody wants a thoughtful person. Everybody wants somebody who's considerate. Everybody wants someone to take care of them, show up for them, and treat them well, right? We all are seeking that. Like, I want somebody who's real. I want somebody who's down for me. I want somebody who shows that they love me and they care for me. I want somebody who is willing to be vulnerable, open, honest. But if we were being honest with ourselves in terms of how we are showing up in relationships, we kind of keep our cards close, right? Because we know the cost of what it means to open ourselves up. The same way we are hesitant, the same way we practice reserve, the same way we practice pause when it comes to us being vulnerable, when it comes to us showing up and treating people well. Sometimes we are offended, okay? And sometimes we demand people do the bravery work that we ourselves are not willing to show up with. And then that leads to frustration, right? Because there's now an imbalance in terms of what is actually taking place. So, when it comes down to it, what contradictions have you noticed in yourself and what contradictions have you noticed in others? And when you think about authenticity, what does that look and feel like? Because a lot of times people are being exactly who they are. A lot of times people will tell us exactly who they are. We are always telling people who we are. There's a certain level of honesty that always slips out in terms of our behavior, in terms of our patterns, in terms of our value system. And sometimes you may be upset that a person has done certain things, but you might be overlooking the fact that you've had this information for an extended period of time and you chose to look past it. Why the whole, it's important for you to give people grace and see the good in people. There should be limits to that. There also should be a certain threshold and also accountability in terms of how you are showing up in relationship. And this is why relationships, in reality, friendships, when I say relationships, I'm talking about the universal exchange between you and another person to cultivate some connection. Relationships of any kind require balance. Relationships of any kind require initiative. Relationships of any kind require consistency, right? And relationships require both people to be present. Sometimes we are trying so hard to see the good in another person because there have been certain transgressions that have been very evident and obvious, and we keep looking past that. Is that disrespects you? Okay. that also forces a person to be in a space and position in your life that you hold significant that they probably are not qualified to be in. Yes, some people are really offended when they get demoted, okay? They are offended that you decide that you no longer want to have a partnership with them. They are offended that you decide that you no longer want to have a relationship, a friendship with them. And it's usually based on the simple fact of, well, you haven't been present. There's been a lack of effort. You haven't been honest. So now I have to reconfigure where I keep you in life. Sometimes that's the healthiest thing you can do. The reason being is because if you keep a person in a space that they are not qualified to be in, you will now create chaos for yourself, and you will also give somebody else a reason to justify moving forward how they may be treating you, or if they do abandon ship at a certain point. Oh, yeah, they were asking for too much. I told them I couldn't be present, or I told them that's not who I was. Did you believe them? And if a person says, oh, yeah, well, I didn't see this coming, a lot of times you see exactly what you need to see, but you might be looking past it because it doesn't look like what you desire it to be. Sometimes we will look past what's necessary to have our most authentic relationship with another person to instead have the relationship with the person that we desire. A lot of times that relationship will fall right through the bottom. The reason why is because this is not authentic. This is not honest. Honesty does not always mean a bleeding heart. Honesty just simply looks like the most realistic version of myself and also this other person. People pleasing. People pleasers are never having honest relationships with other people. The reason why is because there's manipulation and control that is orchestrated how this relationship goes. I have to do whatever it takes to make you happy, or do what I think is going to make you happy or make you like me, which means that I am not existing as my most authentic self. I'm doing something or I'm being something that I think somebody else may like of me. So that's not honesty. Somebody's value system can be very distorted. Somebody's level of integrity can be very low, but that's still honestly who they are. The biggest question is, do you allow them to be that? How honest are you in your relationships? How vulnerable have you been? And to be vulnerable and be emotional are not the same thing. A lot of times we have betrayals in our relationships because we are refusing to believe the honesty of who someone is, and instead are forcing them to be something that we desire from them. So I want you to ask yourself, how often have you been betrayed, not by other people, but by yourself and your willingness, your eagerness, and your stubbornness to have a relationship that is not healthy because it is not honest? Take what you need, pass it on to somebody else. Okay? Take a deep breath. And remember, this is simply just information.